It is time to cross the halfway line in the 2026 Betfred Super League season as round 14 arrives. Get ready for the number one build-up show to this week's contests. Tonight, will Arron Moore be able to keep his cards in his pocket as the two worst disciplined teams in Super League go head-to-head? It's Saints against the Wolves. On Friday, the league leaders Leeds Rhinos will be wanting to keep marching on, but standing in their way is Machuja Som & Co, who will not die wondering on the night. Whilst over at the DIY Kitchen Stadium, Wakefield Trinity will be out for revenge for their heartbreaking Challenge Cup exit at the hands of the Wigan Warriors, and it could be Sinfield versus Smith. Hull KR have had a month from hell thus far, and with nightmares of round one still playing on their minds, the York Knights will be looking to win once again. Surely not. Then on Saturday, we have a doubleheader, starting at the MKM Stadium as Hull FC take on bottom of the table Huddersfield Giants. At least this game will serve up young talent, and they're sure to entertain us for the full 80 minutes. Then we go to Perpignan as Catalan Dragons take on Castleford Tigers. Both have real strike on the edges, but will it be Verstappen or Papalangi who will inspire their teams to 2 points? And then finally, gravity pulls us to Odsal as Embrace provides the starter for the main course of Bradford Bulls versus Lee Leopards. Who will rise up, who will leave with 2 points, and who will ultimately turn to ashes? In-depth analysis, passionate debate, and round 14 predictions. It's time for the... It is indeed time for the captain's run. Welcome to Billy Ingram, heritage number 59, and 18th man on tour, no less. Billy, you're a bit low there, mate. You need to get your chin a bit further up. There you go.
Which one?
Well, I'm saying nothing, mate. Well, welcome on your debut, mate, to the captain's run.
Thank you.
Great to have your company, mate. So, heritage number 59, and of course, 18th man on tour. If you don't know who Billy is, because people listening to this on Spotify and Apple, what's 18th man on tour, Bill? Go on, give yourself a plug.
So what I do is I go around all the grounds in rugby league. I review them on, facilities and atmosphere and that kind of thing. Give them a bit of a grading, a few pointers, just trying to get as many eyes on the game as possible. There's a real focus as well down in the Championship too. I spend a lot of time down there focusing on that division, which, to be honest, in a way I prefer to Super League. So I that's what I do. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, and I'm on TikTok as well. Please give me a follow if you can. And you will see Mr. Kane. We do a bit of collaboration now and again, don't we, sir?
Every now and again, but we won't talk about Huddersfield when you're disappointed, mate. Anyway, well, that's another story. We'll keep that between me and you. But great to have your company, mate. Of course, round 14 will be kicking off in about 2 hours' time as people are watching this. But let's have a quick look at the league table. And first of all, the bottom half of the league table. And it is what it is at this moment in time. I mean, do you see any of those teams, Bill, having a genuine shot after 13 rounds at the playoffs?
The only one I think may do, and I think it depends on the results this week, is Catalan. I think if Catalan can get a win this week, I think that they will. They may be able to build on a little bit of momentum. John Cartwright's been there for a few weeks now. May be able to, implement some of his methods, and that could help them a little bit. Other than that, I don't see anyone pushing for the playoffs. I think Bradford will be looking at that though, and they'll be absolutely delighted with how this season's gone.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with more. And of the teams that are playing the top half of the table this week, I do think the Lee Leopards will be the ones that are perhaps the most concerned going into the new week. But it is a year of many surprises. Unlike you, I think the top 6 will come from the top 7 currently. That's where I think it is. I think we're starting to see that now. I think Catalan have been too inconsistent as we've gone through the season thus far, and I do think it's going to be 6 from these 7. If I am right, and it is 6 from these 7, which one of those 7 do you not see in the 6, if that makes sense?
The one I don't want to see in the 6 is Wigan. The one that I don't think will make the 6, if any, would probably be Lee. I think their injuries at the start of the season maybe had a little bit too much of a harm on their form. But I'm happy to be proven wrong. Lee have done it Lee did it a couple of seasons ago, didn't they? Where they went on a really good winning streak towards the back end of the season and just crept into the playoffs.
Well, mate, the interesting thing this weekend, of course, is that and we'll get into our predictions, and of course, for those people watching, if you've not done your Super Brew yet, then you need to make sure you get that done. Of course, big prizes up for grabs for the members where that's concerned. We'll talk about the membership with Billy a little bit later on in the show. But of course, if Wigan were to lose at Wakefield on Friday night, and of course Lee were to win at Bradford on Sunday, they would be level on points. And wouldn't that be very intriguing with more battles of the boroughs ahead of us this season? Well, anyway, there you go. Of course, your Leeds Rhinos sitting top of the pile. Probably quite a happy boy. You wouldn't have expected this, would you, after 13 rounds this season?
I didn't expect us to be top, no. I think at the start of the season, I think I had us third. I think that's around that sort of thing. I thought we'd be up there. But yeah, I'm absolutely delighted with how this season's gone so far. And if I'm being honest, I don't think we're quite on all cylinders just yet. I think there's still a little bit more to come. And we've obviously got a quality player in Lockie Miller to come back.
Indeed, you have. Well, look, we're going to go through, of course, all of the games, but in reverse order, because if people come to the Captain's Run a little bit later in the weekend, at least the games they're listening to haven't happened yet. So that's why we do it in reverse order. Right. And of course, that means we are starting at the Odsal as the Lee Leopards, of course, no strangers to the Bradford Bulls, having played them quite a few times down in the Championship over the years, but now back in Super League. These two should be an absolute belt. So let's get a tail of the tape up on the screen as me and Billy start walking through it. This is their seasons thus far, side by side. Bill Lee coming into this, 4 wins in the last 5, 2 in the last 5 for the Bradford Bulls. But what's quite striking when we look at the graphic, and by all means talk through it for those who are listening, is when you compare and contrast the statistics side to side, the league table doesn't lie. And, it's very, very close. I mean, again, there's some bigger ones in there. I mean, I draw your attention straight away to the missed tackles. 738 missed tackles from Bradford, only 413 from Lee. And that probably is going to be a massive factor come Sunday.
Yeah, I think so. I think what's maybe worth caveating that with is Bradford having to sort of scramble a side together, really, towards the back end of the season. So that cohesiveness that Lee will have had, Bradford may not have had that towards the beginning. They have also been hampered by injuries, but as of Lee. But yeah, that is quite concerning. Aside from that, though, it is very, very close between them. I'm just looking at their dummy runs. Bradford 135 versus 87, and that's probably coming from players like Andy Ackers and that real shoot from dummy half. Goals as well. I mean, it's been well talked about the lack of consistency in Lee's goal kicking so far this year, but hopefully Adam Cook has changed that round. But yeah, across the board, there's not a huge amount between them. To be fair, I think it's going to be an absolute humdinger of a game.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, you're right. I mean, the conversions for both teams, 71% for Bradford, 60% for Lee. And you're right with dummy runs. I mean, 87 litres compared to the 135. I mean, Ipape has. I'm surprised at that. I mean, I'd have thought that'd have been a bit closer with Ipape being in there. I know he's missed a couple of games this season. That said, when Ipape runs, he tends to have devastating runs. We've got to say that. But you're right across the board. It's very, very tight. I think the interesting thing for me as well, and what I like about Bradford is the offloads, the second phase, 125 to Leeds 109. They like to keep the ball alive, which is to their credit. The punching, they are punching. There's no doubt about that. I mean, again, tackle bus, only 30 difference between the two sides. Bradford, for me, as you said, probably find themselves in a position that they could have only dreamed of at the start of the season. And almost now Kurt Haggerty's got almost like a clean run at this in terms of, right, lads, we've established ourselves. We know we're in Super League next season. We know we're going to Vegas. Whether we win 1, 2, 3 or 10 between now and the end of the season, just go out there, express yourself, play your rugby league. And that's what makes Bradford a really dangerous proposition to all of those top 7 sides starting with Lee this weekend.
Yeah, completely agree. Completely agree. They have got a free hit. There is no pressure on them whatsoever. They're in the position that Lee were in back in 2023, where nobody was really expecting anything of them. Nobody was expecting them to have the success or the relative success that Bradford have had so far this year. They've made Odsal a real fortress. Now, as you'll know, for anyone who doesn't know, Odsal is different in terms of how it's set out. It's a narrower pitch and a slightly shorter pitch than what you get at a lot of the more modern grounds. They've used that to their advantage, and the second phase attack, keeping that ball alive, is allowing them to, really take advantage of that slightly narrower pitch, getting the defence a little bit more compact and then breaking them down the wing. I think we saw a great try the other week, didn't we, with Ethan Ryan, doing that exact thing. I've been really impressed with Bradford. I've been impressed with Kurt Haggerty as a coach as well. I think he's done an absolutely tremendous job. At the start of the season, we would not be putting this down as a close game. We'd have been saying Lee probably 18 plus. This is a much closer game than I think a lot of people were expecting it to be at the start of the year.
Couldn't agree with you more. I mean, look, the last time these two met was in the Championship round 17 in 2022. It's 56-6 to Lee. Something tells me that ain't happening until this Sunday, mate. I don't see that. But Lee are on a 4-game winning streak against Bradford coming into this, so they will go in. And of course, their league position is, of course, higher. Jack Smith's going to be video referee, so Steph and Co will be delighted about that. 40-20s as well, both sides this year lead the most 40-20s in Super League Derby 3 this season. And of course, as you saw with Jake Connor last week against Saints, there's nothing like a good 40-20 at the right time of the game. Some milestones as well. Of course, we haven't got the squads as we record this. They'll be announced, of course, tomorrow. But in terms of some noticeable milestones, Ethan Ryan, if selected, will make his 100th. Ethan Ryan will not be getting 3 tries against Lee. I don't think he won't get his 100. Neither will Wonga Blake. Wouldn't have thought. Owen Trout, will he play? Will he not? If he does, he gets his 150th appearance. Not heard anything on Tessie New either. He's one short of his 100th career appearance as well. But I'll tell you an interesting thing here, Bill. I mean, if there's no Tessie New, which I don't think there will be, if there's no Yamalahan, we know they're putting Jack Smith in centre. Now, this for me is an opportunity, perhaps, for the Bradford Bulls, because one of the informed centres this season, arguably, is Wonga Blake. He'll be going up against Jack Smith potentially. But actually, when you actually break it down, Smith's not doing Hughes is not doing too bad. I don't know why I said Jack Smith there. Jack Hughes is not doing too bad. 12 appearances, 3 tries, 2 assists, 15 tackles, 2 breaks, and averaging 6.8 metres for his 123 carries. Wonga Blake, 3 games less, 6 tries, exceptional, 3 assists, which is, an absolute hand in a try per game if you look at it in that type of way. 28 tackles, 2 clean breaks, 7.2 is average meters. But I think for me, that edge for me for Bradford, with Ryan and with Blake, that could be an opportunity because it is disjointed, and I think even Lee Leopards fans will accept that that's probably the right side to target in this game.
I would agree. I think last week against Castleford, he probably had his best game in that position. He did improve. There's an argument, and I know it's been covered, but there's an argument he probably shouldn't even really be playing this game, considering the little bit of ill discipline. But we'll park that there. I think this could be a really interesting battle between a player that's coming into form and a player that has recently come back from injury, wanting to try and prove himself again. To quote Mr. Nixon, it didn't work out for Wonga Blake at St. Helens, as he likes to remind us every week on Weekly. But I think down the is it left edge? They'll
be attacking down the left, yeah.
Down the left, yeah. I think down the left edge, I think that could be somewhere where they can try and exploit. And we've seen it as well the other week with Ethan Ryan scoring a great try in the corner, Odsel as well. So yeah, I think that could be a real key battle. What would be interesting though is if we do hear that Amila Hanley's back, because if Amila Hanley is back, that he could be the difference. And if he continues the form that he showed just a few weeks ago, Amila Hanley, he's going to want to be putting his name in the England setup. Yeah. He's got a lot of pressure on his back with his name. The name Hanley has a lot of pressure added to it as it's going to. His dad was an absolute legend. So getting that pressure running towards it, he's going to want to represent England in the World Cup this year. So if he is back, I think he could be the real difference maker.
I don't think he will be. That's the impression I'm getting. I could be wrong. Team sheets come out and you have surprises every week, but I'd be very surprised if that was the case. Right, let's get into the predictions then. Of course, Lee Leopards sitting in 7th place. They'll want to get the win over the line to keep in touching distance of that top 6 and the playoffs. Which way are you going and by how many?
I'm going Lee by 8. I'm going Lee by 8. I think that they've playing at Castleford is very similar to playing at Bradford. It's a similar sort of setup in terms of the pitch. They were the better of the 2 teams last week, and I've got a feeling that game against York may have taken it out of Bradford a little bit. You know, Aribi Doro had a great game, Riley Dean had a great game, but York were a tough team for them. So I think Lee are just going to have that little bit too much quality. So I'm going to say Lee by 8 points.
Fantastic. I'm going 2 more. I'm going to go by 10. I do see Lee winning the game, but I do think it's going to be tight for a long period. I do. I think that Bradford will give a really good account of themselves, but Lee at the moment are in good form. Like I say, 4 wins from the last 5. They're just looking better. So I'm going to go there. And of course, the fact that they're going to Bradford, just having gone to Castleford, not a bad thing in terms of the pitch and the acclimatisation and all of that kind of good stuff. Right, cracking game over in Perpignan, hopefully on Saturday night to get us through our Saturday night steak and chips or whatever you're going to be having, Billy. Dragons against the Tigers, and as I said, their box office centres at centre stage. We'll come back to those two a little bit later, but for now, let's go to the tail of the tape. And I've got 8th against 10th. Tigers 2 wins from the last 5, only 1 win from the last 5. The Dragons, for me, really disappointing, mate. I have to say, they've got far better. The players in their roster, for me, they should be doing better more consistently. They're not doing that. And, you look at that, the average against them exactly the same, both sides, 29 apiece. Catalan have scored more than Castleford this year, but I think we've seen that when Castleford are on, they're on. When they're on, especially down the left edge with Mapapalangi and Gary. But as you look across that tail of the tape there, again, very, very interesting viewing. The Dragons, like Bradford, 117 offloads to 72, where Castleford Tigers are concerned. Again, that phase of play that they're putting in there. The penalties very, very close within the 2. It's a hard one to judge this because Castleford have sprung quite a few surprises, and I thought they were very good in defeat against the Leopards, which, having won the last 2 and then lost the Leopards, it was a fighting loss. This is a tough one to call. What are you pulling out of those stats?
There's quite a lot to pull out there. So average against is exactly the same, 29 points. The missed tackles for Catalan, my days, I did not realise it was that bad. I did not realise 788 missed tackles. That is absolutely appalling. Very similar conversion rates in terms of goals, similar in terms of errors, similar in terms of penalties as well. Same amount of yellow cards, same amount of clean breaks. There's only really a couple of differences here. One's the tackle bus and one's the offloads. For Catalan, everything else is very, very similar. On the missed tackles, obviously.
Just a quick one. I've double checked that marker tackles, 491 missed tackles. That makes it a bit better for him, and it's still over 100 more.
Honestly, Dave, what are you doing? Giving me duff information. Honestly,
right, on one line, but I always put it right during the show, mate. When you put this many slides together for a show, as opposed to just going and tasting pies and drinking beer, you can come back and complain. Anyway, carry on, sir.
Oh, burn! I am, of course, joking, Mr. Kane.
I know. Carry on.
Yeah, no. Even so, it's still 100 more. The defence of Catalan is still a little bit concerning. I think this is going to be a close game, but I've got a feeling it might be a close game for the wrong reasons. I'm wondering if it's going to be a little bit devoid of quality.
Well, let's hope not, because we've seen, again, both of these two teams have got the ability to sparkle. I remember when Castleford went back last time in France to Toulouse, they were woeful. They were terrible at the start of the season against Toulouse. They'll be hoping for better in Catalan. And of course, we've seen Catalan on a few occasions where they've really not been anywhere near the races. But again, you look at it, like I say, there are some key KPIs there. The missed tackles, like I say, 491, not 788. Apologies for that. But that's 100 more. They're on the wrong side of the error count. They're on the wrong. The penalties are pretty much even Stevens. There's a lot there for Ryan Carr and Castleford Tigers to feel optimistic about for me. Let's go into the team. I mean, look, the bad news for Castleford is that the Catalan Dragons have won their last 7 home games against Castleford. We must say that. Going into it, but here are the sides that have been the 21-man squads, and starting with the Dragons, as you can see, again, no Benjamin Garcia. That's a big. He's been in and out all season, and that's for me really causing them a problem, because I do think they're a much better structured side with Garcia at 13, linking up with the halfbacks and the real steel in defence that he brings to the Dragons. Again, he's not there. Matty Russell has also had to drop out. So Alexis Liss and Leo de la Torre come in for the Catalan Dragons. The spine is still there. I think we're all expecting more from that spine. I think, like I say, when Staines, Dodd, Sexton and Lehman have combined well, they've looked very, very dangerous. I think on the edges, they've got genuine strike. I think there's no doubt about that whatsoever. As for the Casford Tigers, looking at the squads, of course, George Hurst, he's back in the squad, having served a 2-game ban. Semi Valame, he's still out. And Jack Ashworth also dropping out of the squad alongside Brock Grayson, who's also had to drop out through HIA protocols. So a couple of key players, a bit of bulk there. Grayson, Ashworth, not in the Casford team going into this week. Your thoughts on the squads?
I think Garcia is going to be a massive loss. He's got that sort of Morgan Knowles play about him, hasn't he? Very, very good with the ball in hand, but also incredibly tough and a very, very good tackler. So I think he adds a little bit of strength and a bit of motivation into the Catalan side. They do seem to look a better side when he's playing at 13 as a rule. So I think he's going to be a loss. The spine, you're right. When it has worked, it does look very good. I mean, Charlie Staines, I think is he still the top meter maker?
He's flying on that, mate. But I think top meter makes one of those. It's great he's making those meters. Don't get me wrong, but you know, and he is doing well in terms of his output as well. You know, he's had 6 tries this season. He's had 4 assists. But for me, I think there's more in Charlie Staines still to come.
I would agree with that. I think I do have a feeling though, if he's on, he could be the real difference in this game. PLT's done quite well since he came in. I think he's starting to, he had a very poor debut, but since then he has sort of started to improve a little bit there. But I do think with somebody like Charlie Staines, if he can take this game by the scruff of the neck, he could be the real difference. The other one, as good as Mapapalangi's been as well, I think Solomona Fatape has been absolutely outstanding as well for Catalan, and that's going to be a real decision in the centres of which way that goes.
Well, let's take a look at that, because, of course, we highlighted that at the start of the show and in the titles. And look, this highlights how brilliant both have been. One extra game for Fatapi. He's played all 13. Mapalangi has played 12 tries, 5 to 6 in Mapalangi's favour. Both have made 7 tries apiece for the team. The tackle bus is incredible. 35 for Fatapi, which is not a bad number at all. But then you look at Mapalangi, 53. Incredible. Breaks, 11 to 8 in Fatapi's favour. Both carrying the ball in and around the 175, 168 there, again in Fatape's advantage. He's making more meters per carry, 7.8 to 6.2. But both of those two players, when you look at those statistics and their output, they are right. I mean, they probably won't get in because there's a lot of centres in good form. Wonga Blake, we've just mentioned a moment ago, is in great form. Josh Smith at Warrington has come from nowhere. He's in great form. Adam Kieran's having perhaps his best season yet at the Wigan Warriors, and we could talk about also the likes of Ash Handley, etc. But these two at the moment, for me, are in the conversation for Dream Team. You can't dismiss them. 100%. I mean, they've both had very, very good seasons in what have been underperforming sides as well, and I think that's the real thing. When it's, I think just take Ash Handley. I think he's had a great season as Ash Handley. It's probably been his best season in a long time in a Leeds shirt. But it is easier for him to play well in a side that's playing well. These two are doing it when the sort of the team around them hasn't always been as strong as it could be. They're definitely in the conversation for Dream Team, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think, again, fascinating. Unfortunately, they're not going to go head to head. They're going to be on opposite sides. But I do think that these two players could have a big say. I think the ball will go right to left, and I think their service to the wingers could be pivotal in this game. I look at the two squads side by side, and I've been saying this all season, and I've not seen it. And at some point, it's got to happen. The middle unit of the Dragons is a strong middle unit. I mean, the fact Julian Busquets back in there is great. Chris Satai, of course, after that wonderful go-to-sleep tackle that he did last week, where he decided to use the man as a pillar. He's there. He's still in there, which will be good news for John Cartwright. They've got genuine size for me in those front middle unit positions, and that I'm sort of, even though the Castleford appear to be in slightly better form, they seem to be galvanised all of a sudden. They're playing some reasonable rugby, good rugby league. It's got to be said. They're being competitive, which is what we want. We want them to be competitive. I think on home soil, with the spine intact and the forwards there, you look at the two. I don't think Weaver's hit his straps really. He's been very hit and miss. Rumour has it Assie's going at the end of the season. I just look at that and I think, do you know what? I think the Dragons at home, I think they win by 12. That's where I'm going. What's your view?
That is exactly what I've got down. Catalans by 12. I think that I can imagine this being close for about an hour, and then I can maybe see Catalans just breaking away from it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way I see it. But I'll tell you what, it should be a very, very interesting game. I think it's two well matched up sides in terms of a contest. And unlike you, I hope that we do see some expansive play and we see some sparkling rugby league. It's got the potential to give us that. Whether it delivers or not is another story. You talk about will games deliver or not. We almost wince when we look at this one. Hull FC against Huddersfield Giants this Saturday. And I've put there, you've got to give people a reason to tune in to a game like this. Hull FC were diabolical, as were Warrington last week. They've got a lot of injury concerns, as we know. Huddersfield at the moment defensively are just, I don't think I've seen a Huddersfield Giants side lack so much potency in their defensive acumen in all my time watching them in Super League. It's an all-time low for that for me, where the defence is concerned. So we've got to try and find a narrative, Billy, in terms of why people should tune in. And the two players there, which we'll come to in a few moments' time, are probably that reason. Logan Moore, for me, arguably at Warrington, was the best player on the field. Not the best player for Hull FC, the best player on the field. He was absolutely superb. And, of course, George Flanagan, who's just returned from injury. We'll get into their stats in a few moments' time. But before we do, let's take a look at, again, the head-to-heads. And, again, if you're a Huddersfield Giants fan, Bill, the last thing you want to see is a form guide of 5 losses on the spin.
Yeah, it really is. What was it? Dareem said things can only get better. That's probably where you're looking at in terms of in terms of being a Huddersfield fan. It's concerning. You are right about the defence, particularly the goal line defence. Again, I was at the Toulouse game. I was with Greg Roach and a few other guys from Final Hooter, and the defence in the middle of the park from Huddersfield was okay. It wasn't great, but it was okay. The goal line defence was absolutely appalling. It really was, and that is what needs to be worked on. If they can get that sorted, they might have a chance of winning some of these sort of close games. But, I mean, if there's anything to look at there, this is surprising me. They've actually scored more tries than FC. I am genuinely surprised by that. Both very similar, offloads very similar, meters very similar.
Before you get to it, the missed tackles is 429. I don't know what's gone on there tonight, but yeah, the missed tackles for Hull FC is 429 to 449, so very, very similar there. Yeah,
very, very similar. This is two teams that desperately need a win. They both need a win for very, very different reasons. This could end up being a game that is enjoyable, that is close, end to end. Maybe not the highest quality game we're ever going to see, but a game that is close and intense. And I think you're right, with players like Moy, like Flanagan, who have got, especially Flanagan, who's got the genuine ability to really open up a game. This could be something very special to watch, and it may just be at the MKM. That's where he's going to do it.
Well, there they are. We may as well take a look at both of these two players. And I have to say, where Flanagan's concerned, very, very impressive. 5 appearances for Huddersfield this season in Super League, 6 tries, 1 assist. You look at him. It's frightening, really, in terms of the impact he's having when he's on the field. 17 tackle busts, 4 clean breaks, 6.2 his average carry. I thought that'd been a bit more. That surprised me when I put this together from 66 carries. And like I say, Logan Moore last week, I thought was absolutely superb. 9 appearances from him, 2 tries, 2 assists, 28 busts, 1 break, averaging 7.3. metres a carry for 129 carries. I think the problem I've got here is one of these players is playing in his rightful position and one didn't last week.
Yeah.
George Flanagan, for me, is wasted in the halves. I understand why they're doing it. And I think that, we've seen this. We're seeing this at Huddersfield, is the fact that they've created their own problem. Very Tristan Sailor-Jack Wellesby-like at Saints. You had an absolute superstar one in George Flanagan, who was playing, arguably last season, the best rugby league of anybody in the squad. You're bringing Niall Evalds in, and I get that. Niall Evalds, and this isn't a dig at Evalds. Evalds is a class player. But you've just created yourself a massive problem because neither Niall nor George, especially George, because George will be coveted, no doubt. If George Flanagan isn't getting his games, there'll be plenty of suitors coming knocking for George Flanagan. There's no doubt about that. And for me, he might look at that, but he'd look at it less if he was playing in his rightful position. I don't think it'd be, and I don't want to speak for George, I wouldn't know, I don't know him, but if he's not playing at fullback and he starts to get frustrated and then the knock on the door comes, it's a lot easier for him to leave.
It is. It really is. He's a real diamond in the rough at Huddersfield. To be fair, I thought even in the halves last week, you're right, it's not his best position. He still was probably Huddersfield's best player playing in the halves. I mean, you've got an abundance of young players, Kai Taylor-Ray and the like at Warrington, but I'd have him at Leeds in a heartbeat as when Lockie Miller finally decides to move on, I'd have him at Leeds like that. I think he's an absolutely outstanding player.
I'm getting very frustrated with Tui Lolohea. Incredibly frustrated. He's probably one of the best paid players at Huddersfield. He is nowhere near for me. And it's almost like, and it's a horrible thing to say this, but it's almost like he's playing for himself and not for the team. He
reminds me a little bit at times of Brad Wyatt in terms of a good player, but tries to win the game on his own. Yes. Tries to do things it's about making, like I said, I don't know if that's in his mind of I want to make myself look as good as possible, but he's trying to do it. And 1 time in 10 it comes off. He scored a great try last season where he did, I think it was against Castleford actually, where he chipped the ball over and it was fantastic.
Yeah, well, the game's gone.
Yeah, exactly.
And what frustrates me is when the game has gone and he scored a try, at times he celebrates like he's just won the challenge. Could be thinking, hang on, this is a player whose mindset for me is up in the clouds.
I don't think he's the right player to lead Huddersfield into where they want to be. Huddersfield want to be pushing up the league. They've said within 3 seasons they want to be, I don't know if it's in a grand final or winning a grand final. Tui Lolohea is not
30, isn't it? By 2030, it's a pipe dream. And again, when they said that, Billy, I cringed because I'm thinking, it's one thing to have a dream, but come on, don't put a statement like that out, which will come back and bite you.
Yeah, it wasn't well thought out, especially now we've known what's happened with the stadium. That they're struggling to find a home. The quality on the pitch has sunk. Nothing would give me more pleasure than Huddersfield pushing up the league and doing really well. I like Huddersfield. I think I like Sir Ken Davey. I think he's a good man, and I would love for the club to do well. But they are a million miles away from it at this moment in time. And Tui Lolohea, for me, it's probably best if he moves on. Probably back maybe Queensland Cup, New South Wales Cup, that kind of level. And I think that would do Huddersfield a lot of good.
The last thing, I mean, look, and again, the likes of London, the likes of York, the likes of Bradford, the likes of Toulouse. I mean, for me, currently, Tui Lolohea is not Super League. That's my belief. And if he's watching this, he's probably going mad and I'll get pelters. But I've got to call it straight. His performances are well below the standard. Well below the standard. And I think, luckily for Huddersfield is that their fans didn't believe that they were going to be challenging for titles. And again, going back to that, it's a crazy statement. When you look at how many teams have actually won the grand final since its birth, look at how long it took KR to get there and the steady build that they've had to put in there. It was a crazy statement. Let's take a look at the 2 squads. The good news, if there is any good news for Huddersfield, coming into this game is that Lewis Martin's not playing. He scored in the last 3 games that these two teams have played each other, and in the last one it was an hat-trick. So there's a bit of good news there if you're a Huddersfield Giants fan. And another bit of good news as well, albeit not for us as neutrals and not for the game, is of course Zach Hardacre went off against Warrington with a neck concern. And that is concerning. We've had a few of these this season. We wish Zach Hardacre nothing but the best, but he's missing as well. Cade Cust is also out, which again, from a strike and a go forward perspective, Cade's been steady away, I would say, since he's been at Hull FC. In for them, Jed Cartwright and Loney Max Wood, and I think there'll be a lot of people interested in Max Wood for this particular game. Sam Burgess saying that he needs games. He's too good for reserve grade, and he's right. There comes a point when players are too good for reserve grade, and they need to have a better standard of rugby league. And what's pleasing for Max is it's Super League he's gone to, not a Championship club, which again is good news for him. As for Huddersfield, Oliver Russell comes in for Lewis Jagger. They're the 2 squads. What are you going to pick out the 2 squads? Obviously, all still down on the haunches a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing, I think it's I'm hoping SASA performs a bit better than he did last week. He didn't look 100% to me when I was watching the game. But he's a quality player on his day. He really is, and I hope he's back to his best. I thought Matautia did well as well, and as a Leeds,
I thought it was exceptional.
Yeah, he had a good game. I'm glad. I hope to see him push on. I think you're right on Hardacre. I was saying this to Craig Forth at the Huddersfield game that we've got Man of Steel, we've got Young Player of the Year. I'd like there to be an award for unsung hero. And I think that award will be Zach Hardacre's over the last couple of seasons. I think the work he has put in across the board, filling in at positions that are not natural to him, I think he's done an absolutely brilliant job at Hull FC. And I hope this isn't the last we see of him, because I think he's done a brilliant job. I actually had him in my dream team last year. I thought he was that good. In terms of that, if you're actually looking, Huddersfield have probably got the stronger of the 2 squads. That they've got more of the first teamers in. This could go one of 2 ways. This could either be a classic in terms of intensity and very close, or it could be a real washout. But I'm hoping it is the former.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly in the fact that you look at those 2 squads. I mean, you look at it. It's like last week against Toulouse. I'm sorry, but the team that Huddersfield had out last week against Toulouse, there's no way on this earth the result should have been that far away. It shouldn't have been. And this is a real problem now. And I get that, confidence is big in sport. Momentum is big in sport. But when you look down that list at players, we mentioned Lollahea, Gagai, Evels, Wolford, Burgess. These are players. George King, who I felt at KR was exceptional. I thought he was a real good quality starting front rower, and I still maintain that now. Joe Greenwood's a good player. There's plenty of quality in that team that they should not be getting rolled, and they got rolled last week. And if they continue to get rolled, especially by teams that are in the bottom half of the table, which Hull FC are, then it could become very, very ugly for the Giants. At some point, they need to click into gear and repay those faithful Cowbell Army fans for me. It could be this game because it's fair to say if Huddersfield was going to meet FC, this is the time to meet them. They are well down on numbers. I have to praise the loanees. I thought O'Neill was steady. Matautia, like you said, I think he was second only to Moy last week for FC. I thought he was absolutely superb. I'd have to say that. And Huddersfield really need to look back to last season for some inspiration. Let's not forget, Huddersfield didn't get many wins last year, but he got 2 against FC. So that's something else for them to try and hold on to, Billy, is what I would say. The good news is we've got a bit of quality in the middle. Tara Jones is officiating this one.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic.
Always good to see Tara in the middle. I think, just a quick word on Tara Jones. Have you been impressed as much as me in terms of how well she should? I mean, because there's, in a world where, there's, lots of discussions about things like job advertisements and who can apply and all that kind of stuff's going on. And when Tara was being touted for a debut in Super League, there was a little bit of nonsense online with regards to why that was going to happen. Well, I think she's answered all of those. She's absolutely deserving of what she's achieved. And for me, when I watch her as an official, at the moment, she's a breath of fresh air. She's commanding respect. I think she's doing really, really well. And again, if you want another reason to tune into this, it may be to see an official who can really grab a hold of a game and keep it in check.
I completely agree. For me, this season, she's been top 2 in terms of referees, but second only to Liam Moore. And if we're going on, you did hear nonsense online of people saying, oh, well, is she only getting it because she's a woman, blah, blah, blah. She's put them to bed. She's been absolutely fantastic. But she's been very good on video referee as well. And I think that needs noting. And I'm not being funny, I would rather have a woman like Tara refereeing than the guy who refereed the Warrington Hull FC game last week, the poor lad. He was way out of his depth. He should not have been refereeing that game. And I hope he gets some guidance and can improve his performances going forward.
Spot on about guidance. You've got to start somewhere. I completely and utterly agree with you. If you want to know what I feel about video referees and captains challenges, watch Weekly this week. Did you like the final thought, Billy, this week?
I did. I thought it were good. I mean, one of the things I used to really enjoy that you did, Dave, was the in the sheds. That little segment that you did. And I understand your reasons for not doing that. But when you get into detail on something just on yourself, you sort of get engrossed watching you. You're kind of like, oh, where's he going with this? And it's like watching Attenborough. You're like, you're like, oh my god, I'm hooked. So yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. I thought it were fantastic, and it's good to see, because I think on a lot of other podcasts, and this is why Super League Raw is separate to me to a lot of podcasts. There's doing a lot of great stuff as well, and I'm not grouping everyone here together. But there's a couple of podcasts out there that it is either whinging without bringing anything to the table in terms of what they do, or going around the edges and not wanting to sort of upset anyone and just sort of agreeing with the status quo. I won't name the podcast that I'm talking about. I think we all know, but it was good to hear somebody come out with an opinion and actually back it and say, this is what I think.
Yeah,
come together and let's improve the game.
Well, yeah, take a listen. It was on this week's Super League Raw Weekly. Go and have a scan. Right, let's get into a prediction on this one. FC again. And you know what? I'm going to back the Giants. I'm going to go there for Joel, Greg, and the lads. I'm going to back the Giants based on the squads, because at some point, I'm sorry, FC fans, but when you look at the two squads side by side, and I get Billy's thoughts about Herman, it was great to see Herman back on the field last week, and he'll only get better and better as he gets back to full fitness. But we've got to remember, this is a man who's been out for over 9 months. It's going to take him time to get back up to speed. So it's great that he's there, but is he as fully effective? I don't know. When you look at those two squads side by side, Huddersfield's squad looks stronger, has more depth, and should have a better bench. And if they can't go to the MKM and get a win, well, I'll be honest, I probably won't be backing them much longer this season to get the next win, because at some point they've got to deliver. And what's going to be very interesting is what Jim does with regards to Georgie Flanagan, Evans, with Ollie Russell coming back in. Could it be that actually the person who's biggest under threat is Tui? Wouldn't that be a story before kickoff if Tui Lolohea was dropped? Because I'll have to say it, on form, I don't think anybody could argue with that decision. But will he make that decision? That we will wait and see. I'm going the Giants by 6. What do you think, Bill? I'm
going Giants by 4. I think you are right. This is where Huddersfield need to step up. Tristan Powell and Tom Burgess need to really, really step up. Powell's been pretty good. Burgess has not hit the heights that he should have hit since he joined Huddersfield. If there's anyone that's going to lead them, we've seen his quality. He needs to be grabbing that team by the scruff of the neck and saying, you come with me. Come on, we need to do this and we need to do it. And he needs to lead from the front doing it.
Couldn't agree with you more. It's going to be very interesting indeed on that game, right? I don't know if you were distracted when the titles were on, but I quite enjoyed this one. To be honest with you, surely not. Surely not. Look, at the end of the day, Hull KR taking on your Knights. We can't forget what happened in round 1. Of course, between these two teams. And I think, it's only right and it's only appropriate that we say that. Tyrone May and that will be having nightmares over that 19-18 loss in round 1. So a little bit of jest there for KR in month that has been an absolute disaster for him. Before we do this, let's remind ourselves, though, of round 1 whilst we're talking about it. This was the game, Bill. This was the game. So I'll just put us to the side. And what's striking about it? Look, 1918, and when you look at the stats, KR should have won. This is where stats at times, you've got to be careful with stats, because stats can lead you down a road of, well, how did they win? I mean, some key KPIs in there. Possession 53%. Play the balls in the opposition 20, 46-25 in KR's favour. They did nearly 200 metres more. The kick returns were more. The post-contact meters were more. They did more clean breaks on the night, 3-0. I mean, unbelievable. The only reason really York stayed in the game was their discipline. Only 6 errors on the night from York. Really, really strong effort there. 2 penalties. And that's where KR on the night was shocking. 11 errors and 13 penalties. You know, they made more missed tackles than York. So it was those type of things. It wasn't the go forward. It was their ill discipline and their defence and how squeaky clean that night York were. They kept in the battle that gave them that opportunity in the second half. And from my perspective, before we start to really build up this game, York need to be as clean again. I mean, I think KR will test them. KR will, without doubt, having lost twice, back to Craven Park. It'll be a partisan crowd, as it always will be. They're going to come flying out the blocks. And the York's defence and York's discipline has to be, certainly for the first 30 minutes of this game, I think has to be flawless. If it isn't, I think KR probably just go over the hill and far away.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we're forgetting there as well, as you know, you're right about the discipline. One of the key turning point in that game was the Mikey Lewis sin bin. That was the key turning point in that game in the opening round. But
they were in touching distance, Bill.
That's
the thing. If Mikey Lewis gets sent off and KR are 30 points ahead, it's still game over.
Yeah,
York stayed in the grind. They stayed close enough so that, as you rightly said, when that happened, it turned the whole momentum of the game.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, York are going to have to be on it. I think what we need to remember here as well, it's going to be a very different York 17 up against the KR 17. They've got a lot of injuries. They've got a lot of they've got some expectation on them a little bit now that they didn't have on that first game of the season. If KR had gone out and won this game 40-0, nobody would have thought anything of it, other than it's a team that's been promoted. There's expectation on York now to probably compete a little bit. So I think KR are going to be well and truly up for this. I won't say my exact prediction, but I've got a horrible feeling it could be a cricket score.
Yeah, and I have as well, and I hope not for York's sake. I think York at the moment, it just feels like, you know, they've had a lot of adversity and the rest of it, and you do feel that they can't keep taking big punches. I do hope and pray that, you know, like I say, the fans stay with them and they understand that they're probably going to need another winter to really solidify the squad and take that next step up. I think for me, the fact they're not bottom at this moment in time, many people have them bottom. They're not bottom, and I think they'll still pick up wins between now and the end of the season. This is the tale of the tape. And no real major surprises. There's a gulf in terms of some of these statistics, as you would expect, in the favour of your Knights. I'm just looking at that, actually. Yeah, that's right. Do you know why? I'm confused myself there, because I've just had a graphic up that was the other way around, but of course that was round 1, so that's the reason. Anyway, there you go. But yeah, of course it's at Craven Park this week, and you know the Robins. 4 wins from the last 5, but 2 defeats in a row, which is very unlike them. 4 defeats in a row now for York, and every conceivable stat there, when you look at it, points to a KR win. And here's a bit of a one, and thank you to the Rugby Football League for supplying this data to us for this one. How many games in a row at home against York do you think KR have won?
Oh,
put a number on that. I was amazed at this when I seen it.
12.
32.
Bloody blooming heck.
I know, mate. I know. When I saw that, I was like, really? I mean, that is some winning streak against any team. 32 wins in a row at home against York. Not good reading again, as well as the stats that we're seeing there on the screen. There's very little. I mean, like I say, we will post these on our socials on the days of the game, so you can have a look at these side-by-side stats. But like I say, Bill, when you look at them side-by-side, unless it's a horrible thing to say. I don't want to say KR beat themselves, but it's inconceivable. It's that surely not that we said on the graphic.
Yeah,
you just can't see how KR can't win this game.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, I didn't see York winning the opening game either, but as we've said, it was a very different York side. Situations and circumstances were different. Sorry, I'm just having a bit of trouble with my camera there. I think if York are going to do it, they need to be disciplined. They need to not make any errors, not concede too many penalties, and I think they need to try and hammer KR on second phase. I don't think they are not going to beat KR going up the middle. Then they're not going to they're not going to beat their pack. The KR pack is probably the second best in the league.
Well, you say that, Bill, but what? Again, I just want to challenge you on this. I've seen a few KR fans say this as well, and on a couple of the podcasters, KR podcasts have said it. They look tired. You know, against Wigan, they look tired. Last week, they look tired, and you know when you look at that pack of York, maybe that is the way that York find a way of winning this game, to try and take advantage. If that is true, there's a lot of people saying about Tom Amon played a lot of minutes. He can't keep doing what he's doing on both sides of the ball. They did look tired. They've got Varney in there. You know, they've got Xavier Var, who's been in really good form. The fact that Jordan Thompson's back is a real bonus for them as well. So I just wanted to throw that at you, because for me, that might be the way. I don't think they can. I don't think on the edges it's going to be there unless they can bully, unless they can get on top down the middle and really compete like they did in game one. That's where they did it. Down the middle, they competed strong down the middle. If the KR fans are right, they know the team better than I do, and they feel that their side currently at the moment are just lacking some sort of energy. If they can get on top down the middle, that could be the way to win it.
I don't think Tom Amon's going to have to do as many minutes as well for that man at the bottom of the list in Tavita Pangai Jr. If Pangai Jr. plays, which I think Willie Peters says he's probably going to play this week, yeah, you know, that could be the real difference. I mean, I think it's going to be David Nofaluma probably going up against Joe Burgess. I would fancy Nofaluma in that.
Davis.
Well, I'd still fancy him against Davis. To be honest with you, I think Nofaluma's been outstanding. I don't think they're going to be doing five sets in a kick, 5 carries and a kick. I don't think that's going to get York the victory. I think it's unlikely anyway. For me, might as well go out, throw the ball around, try and break them down. If they don't win, they're no worse off than what they are going down the middle.
Yeah, I mean, listening to the Mark Applegarth press conference, there was a lot of talk about Dagger at fullback and Matt Arthur not being there. He was put in the centres last week, and I sort of got the feeling that was playing on Mark's mind a little bit, and perhaps I wouldn't be surprised if Matt Arthur was put back to fullback this week. And of course, Dean Hadley on the other side back. We know how important Dean Hadley is to Hull KR. And you mentioned Tavita Pangai Jr. It's going to be interesting. Tavita Pangai Jr. was a shadow of the player that was in the NRL when he was at Catalan. He was absolutely diabolical. He looks leaner. He looks fitter. I know he's been posting a lot of content online to prove his fitness. And if Tavita Pangai Jr. can recapture his NRL form, that is a very astute signing at this stage of the season. It really is. And to your point, will take a little bit off the likes of Jesse Sue and Tom Amon in this one. Of course, Sue missing this week due to that one match suspension again that he got against Wakefield Trinity. But yeah, very, very fascinating. A real fascinating game. All roads for me lead to KR. You said cricket score, so I'm going to ask you now for what that cricket score looks like. What are you going?
I've gone KR by 44.
That is a big score. Big score. I'm gonna go a bit less. I'm gonna go a little bit less. I do think KR though will put a score on. I'm gonna say 32.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say 32. It's still a big score, not quite as big as yours. I do think KR will punish York. I think Mark Applegarth was probably scratching his head a little bit when he saw the second loss in as many games for KR, thinking, "Oh dear, and we've got them next." I'm going to go 32. I mean, there's a lot of talk online. Will they rest a few? Will they, bring in a few of the likes of Noah Booth, will they put him on the wing? Because again, frighteningly, a lot of KR fans saying at the moment they're not happy with Joe Burgess and Davies' form, whether that be injury or what. I mean, like I say, only takes a couple of games, and like I say, it's the 0.1% of people who just axe a grind whenever the team loses a game. But interesting, a few people saying, "Oh, do you put Noah Booth in and give one of those two lads a rest?" It's going to be interesting, but something tells me Willie Peters will put his strongest side out because he knows they need to turn the ship around and then crack on. And I think that is why he'll probably pick his strongest side. But it'll be a fascinating game nonetheless. Right. Arguably the game of the round. Wakefield Trinity, very close to knocking Wigan Warriors out of the Challenge Cup. Could have been very, very difficult this week. Now, don't wince too much when I say Marcus Griffiths is officiating this one. That's an interesting one. I'm very, very surprised the likes of Liam Moore was not selected for this particular game, or a Kendall or a Tara Jones, as you were saying.
I was just going to say that.
It is Marcus Griffiths who's got it. People will have the views on that. Hopefully Marcus lets this game flow and has a good game, because for me, when you see a game like this, you want the official to have a good game, because if he has a good game, it's over to you, the players. Go and entertain us. Jack Smith as well is on video referees. Hopefully not too many captains challenges, because we know they can take a while. Jay Field, he has scored in the last 4 meetings between these two, so they'll be delighted to have him. We'll get to the squads in a minute. But you know what? And I've got to say this, right? Billy, look at that graphic, the side-by-side, the heads-to-head. First of all, look at the odds. 5-4, 4-7. That tells you that even the bookies are looking at Wakey and going, respect where it is due. If you consider that many teams will benchmark Wigan for silverware, and they will. Wigan are the standard. We know that. When you look and compare and contrast those stats side by side, it just goes to show how far Wakefield has come. Because across it, there's very little in it.
Yeah, very, very little in it. I mean, it's probably, it's safe to say, out of the two teams which has performed better this season on the whole, you'd have to say Wakefield. That, this is a Wakefield who in 2023 may have gone down as one of the worst sides I've probably seen in Super League. They were really, really poor. They've gone down, they've regrouped, they've signed very well, they've promoted quite well too. They've got some big players coming in. They've got a very, very good leadership as well. Darryl Powell's an outstanding coach. They've got a very good owner as well in Matt Ellis. The idea, so a lot of my very good friends are Wakefield Trinity fans. The idea to them that 3, 4, 5 years ago that they would be competing with Wigan for playoff places and the like, they couldn't have imagined it.
No,
it's this. Wakefield, okay, Ali, and you probably throw York and maybe Bradford in there now as well. They're showing how it should be done, how you should, be down in the bottom league, grow, come back up, steady yourself, and then push on from there. This is going to be an absolute humdinger. I cannot wait to watch this match.
No, it should be a belter, and of course, Wakey coming into this in great form, 3 wins in a row. I mean, look. Wigan through that one at KR. So in effect, I'm not going to take too much from that. The fact that Wigan are 3 from the last 5. I mean, they could still have been 3 from the last 5 with the strongest team going out against KR, but they threw that. I'm not even taking that into account. You throw the Challenge Cup win in there, and a very impressive win last week in Paris. They have done a lot of travel. There's a lot of Wigan fans who are really nervous about this because, they've had 2 big weeks, and now they're coming up against a team that are banging form. And for the purposes of the podcast, when you actually see this graphic on our socials on Saturday, or it'll be Friday, won't it? You will be amazed at it because, who'd have thought 13 rounds into Super League that Wakefield Trinity would have scored 4 more tries than Wigan, that they'd be conceding less points a game than Wigan, that they would be, missing less tackles than Wigan. Wigan, the 3rd highest missed tackles in Super League with 468. It's unheard of, absolutely unheard of. They, at this moment in time, across the KPIs, Wakefield Trinity are outdoing Wigan. And that's unthinkable. At the start of the season, that is unthinkable. And people will say, "Oh, well, Wigan are off." Maybe, But let's give Wakefield a due. Wakefield are doing really, really well. And, going back to what we were saying about Huddersfield earlier on, where they come out with an outlandish statement of silverware between now and 2030, I'll tell you what, Wakefield aren't a million miles away. I'd have more confidence in Wakefield getting their hands on silverware in the next 3 years, wouldn't you?
I backed Wakefield to win the Challenge Cup this year. I thought that they really, really could do it. And if it hadn't have been for maybe a bit of a moment by Jazz Tavanga, they may have gone on and won it. I think that they are that good a side. I've been really impressed with Wakefield. They're really gelling as a side. The only thing I think, looking at the stats, the only thing that they maybe struggle on a bit is conversion rate in when trying to convert tries. That could harm them a little bit.
And again, as tight as this could be.
It could, yes. Now, the one thing that, and I don't know if you remember this, Dave, last season, Wigan went to play Huddersfield at Dewsbury and really struggled. They won it with like 2 seconds to go. They lost to Wakefield, and then the week after that, they went to Castleford and only just scraped by with a victory. It were 3 quite poor performances. There's something for me about Wigan and the players that they've got at the minute. They don't like playing on some of these older-fashioned grounds where the crowd is right on top of you, where the atmosphere, it's like a boy. I mean, the atmosphere at Wakefield, especially in that north stand, is absolutely incredible. I've got a funny feeling Wakefield could win this game, and I think they could actually win it quite comfortably in the end. I'm backing the train on this one, 100%.
We'll get your number in a minute. But the interesting thing is, before that quarter final, the 26-22, which, let's be fair, many would have said there was a couple of key decisions in that went against Wakefield. There was a lot of talking points after that game. Many people believe that Wakefield were the better side and perhaps should have gone on, but Wigan did what Wigan do, and they got through, and the rest is history. They've now got their hands on the cup again. But before that game, Wigan were 3-0 in defeats at Wakefield. 3-0 and could have easily gone 4-0. It's a ground that Wigan do not like going to. They really don't. So it is an interesting one. It's a real interesting game, no doubt about it. Let's take a quick look at the 2 squads, and of course there they are on the screen. Let's go through who's missing. And of course, the big one for Wakefield is no Mason Lino. What a try last week. I've just got to say it again. What a try that was. More so for the J Pitts offload. Oh, absolute beautiful. But he's out. He's not there. Hence why I said at the start of the show, it would appear that Jack Sinfield could be back for this one. Corey Hall, of course, out, as to his Jez Tavanga, because of course, his disciplinary record now. When he gets points, he's going to get bans, and he's got another ban, and that's a problem for them at 13, albeit J Pitts, we know perfectly, can go in there and nail that. Max Jowett back in the 21-man squad. Do I expect him to play? I probably don't. He might get on the bench, as a utility, perhaps over maybe Harvey Smith. I don't know. But that's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, Max Jowett is back. Will Tate and Charlie Abraham also return to the 21. I wouldn't expect to see either of them, especially if Tom Johnstone plays in this one. But of course, the big news for Wigan, not only is Harvey Smith back from his ban, but Bevan French is named in the squad again. It could be that the 2 young players who sparkled at Catalan last week both get dropped for this game.
I don't understand. George Marsden, I get why they drop him. He had a good game last week, but he's not cemented himself in the side. I don't understand how you can drop Jack Farramond with the form that he's in. Can you imagine turning him around to a young kid and saying, go on, go make this shirt your own, go make this position your own, and then the minute that Bevan French comes back in, oh, no, it's his now. I'd be saying, no, not on your Nelly, I want to play this game. I hope Farramond plays. I hope French is actually is left out. Personally,
you think they'll do, Bill, what they did at the Challenge Cup final and put French on the bench and Farramond starts?
Possibly, yeah, possibly. The thing is, though, has Matty Pete got the cojones to do that? Because if they lose the game and they lose it comfortably, Wigan fans will be straight online going, well, why did we not play Bevan? Why did we not play Bevan? Well, they talk about this, what's it called? Constant line of young players coming through where you've got to blood them and you've got to give them the chance. And when they take the chance, like Jack Farramond does, you've got to back them, in my view.
It'll be interesting. Jay Pitts will make his 250th appearance in this one. Tom Johnstone, 150. which is good for him, and 450 appearances for the great Liam Farrell.
Is that the Liam Farrell that's over the hill and should be dropped?
Yeah, 450 appearances in his career in his kit bag. Unbelievable. And if he was to go and score, it would be his 150th try for Wigan. So it could be a very special Friday night for Liam Farrell. Of course, we wish him well with that, as we do. That's what we do here at Super League Raw. We want our gladiators to shine. But this is a phenomenal game. I can't wait for this tomorrow night. Cannot wait for this tomorrow night. I'm going nowhere. This is the only thing that could maybe get me more excited about this is maybe watching it in slow motion to savor it. You know what I mean? Because it should be that good. It should be. I hope I've not just jinxed it, but it should be that good. It should be, a Wakey team that is banging form coming up against a Wigan team that have found the form. Oh, this could be, and with that narrative of what happened in that quarter final. Ooh, this could be good. This could be very, very good. I, for one, certainly will be tuning in. Before we get to our predictions on this, and of course, you've already give yours away in the fact that you're going to go to the blue shirt, not the cherry and white. I think, as we do on Captain's Run, we go a bit here, there, and everywhere. And I think, we haven't done this yet. And I just felt this may be the right time to have this debate. And the debate is World Cup wingers. Now, nobody will be surprised that Zach Eckersley's on the screen. But Oliver Pratt, now people might be laughing on the podcast. Let's bring this into some context. Zach Eckersley plays for Wigan and he's getting loads of flowers and people are touting him for the World Cup. Matty Ashton at Warrington getting touted for the World Cup. And rightly so. All these players, rightly so. Yeah. Nobody's talking about Oliver Pratt. Nobody. And what Eckersley and Pratt bring that perhaps Ashton doesn't is a little bit of versatility. They can play centre, they can play wing. Oliver Pratt and Eckersley have done that this season at various stages of the season. But for the purposes of the podcast, and then I'll bring you in, Bill, for those who are listening, listen to this, because you might not realise just how good Oliver Pratt is. Both of these two players have played 12 times this season. Eckersley scored 12 tries in Super League. Pratt has scored 14. 4 assists for Eckersley, 3 for Ollie Pratt. Tackle bus, 31 for Eckersley, 29 for Ollie Pratt. Clean breaks, 14 for Pratt, 13 for Eckersley. Carries of the ball, Pratt 171, an average gain of 7.2. Eckersley 168, average gain of 7.2. Everybody's talking Zach Eckersley for England, and rightly so. My argument is Oliver Pratt should be in the same conversation. If he is wearing a Leeds shirt, a Wigan shirt, a KR shirt, people will be waxing lyrical over this man's 2026 season. And I think that these two on the night, again, another reason to tune in. These two in great form. Really looking forward to watching them. Your thoughts, Bill?
Ollie Pratt's been outstanding. He's been brilliant this season, and you are right, because he plays in a Wakefield shirt, he doesn't get the plaudits that he deserves. If this was Sean Wayne still in charge, there is no way Ollie Pratt goes to the World Cup.
Correct.
With it being Brian McDermott in charge, I think there's a very good chance. Personally, I'd have Ollie Pratt in before Tom Johnstone. I'd be taking him before him. I think I'm not. I don't want this to be a hit on Eckersley, because Eckersley's been fantastic. He's been absolutely great. But you are right, because he wears a Wigan shirt, he does get the plaudits that some players who play for your Wakefields, who play for your Castlefords, who play for Hull FC even at this current stage, don't quite get. The versatility aspect of it, especially when you go into a World Cup, is very important. And players like Ollie Pratt, players like Ash Hanley, players like Zach Eckersley, that could be the thing that sort of goes in their favour over, for example, a Matty Ashton. I want Matty Ashton to be in the squad, by the way, but that's the kind of thing that could just tilt it in their favour.
It's going to be great to watch. I just felt we needed to do that, and for me, because I'm going with you, I'm going with Trinity, and the reason I'm going with Trinity, less travel, less emotion, the right banging form, and the bench. These 3 players have been incredible over the last 3 weeks. Incredible. Fartilli, Hamlin-Uele, and Lalesio. These 3 have come on and changed games incredibly well. And I think, when you look at the Wigan squad, their bench this season it just doesn't have that same. It doesn't frighten as much as it has in previous seasons gone by. Wakefield's bench frightens the life out of me. You know, if my team was playing Wakey this weekend, and I'm seeing a bench that've got these 3 players on it, and the form that they're in, I am wincing and I am worried. And I think that if these can carry on doing what they're doing this week as they have the past 3, these 3 players could be the reason why I'm going Trinity by 8. Your thoughts?
Yeah, completely agree. They're the 3 kind of lads who'll tell you want allowed in your trainers, aren't they? You know, if they're working on the door in the nightclub, you would not mess with these 3. The big powerhouses. Hamlin Llewellyn, I mean, Fertilli's been great, and so has Alessio. But Hamlin Llewellyn, he has gone under the radar this season of how good he has actually been. The yards he makes, the difference he makes when he comes off the bench, and when he starts as well. To be fair, he's been very good when he starts. This is an impressive 3. I do agree on Wigan's bench as well. So at the start of the season, I backed Wigan to finish 6th, and the main reason I did that was the players that they lost. You know, your Liam Burns and others. They don't seem to have that depth in the pack. That when say a player does go down injured, and I hope this doesn't happen, but say Nsemba gets injured at the weekend, who's coming in a like for Nsemba? There isn't anybody. Whereas you've got players at Wakefield who can come in like for like, or as near as damn it, and still fulfil the role and still make a difference within the game. So yeah, no, those are 3 really good players.
Completely agree. Right, what number are you putting on Trin then?
18.
That's a bold shout. I don't think I'd have gone that high. I do for the reasons I've said. I do back Trin on this one. That's a big shout, Billy. Where are you on the prediction table?
I'm quite far down, Dave.
That's why. But anyway, that's by the by. That's by the by. Before we get into the Leeds Rhinos, of course, Billy does support the Leeds Rhinos. Before we get into the Rhinos and Toulouse, that's the next game. It's fair to say, Bill, you know, here you are, part, of course, of our community. You're with us at the Challenge Cup. You're going to be with us at Magic Weekend as well. It's fair to say the community, the online community that we've got, the WhatsApp group, it's getting more and more tighter with every single season. People meeting up at games and really enjoying each other's company, regardless of shirt or breed. From your perspective, why should people consider becoming Billy? Why should people consider becoming a member at Super League Raw and having the opportunity of coming on the Captain's Run, coming on Final Hooter or Tackle Talk, and being a part of what we create outside of the game?
Rugby League's a big community as it stands. It is a massive community in and of itself, and we've got a community within a community here. We've got people who genuinely care about each other. It's, you know that there's people out there to support you should you need it. It's good debate as well. We meet up at games. It's good to sometimes in the areas that we live. There can be people, you know, a lot of people maybe not interested in rugby league. So, but it's great to have those pockets of people from different clubs, and we'll meet up together. We'll go watch a neutral game. There were half a dozen of us that went to watch the Huddersfield game at the weekend, and you know, there were very few of us that actually supported Huddersfield. That's the kind of thing that we've got. And from a personal point of view, Dave, the support you've given me with my page and trying to help me grow my thing as well. I can't thank you enough for that. You've been absolutely brilliant. What I like too is that we have you help us have a little bit of a say in what goes on as well. You know, we have an AGM at the end of the year. We say, what would you like to see from the podcast? Because we are members, and what would you like us to be doing? And part of that came out with a championship show, which is, you know, with Craig Lingard, which has been absolutely brilliant. There's no one else covering stuff like that. And the thing about Super League Raw, compared to a lot of other podcasts, nobody gets into the detail like you do. Nobody at all gets into that level of intricacy and that level of real stat focus. You know, it's a lot of guesses and things like that from a lot of other podcasts. Nobody gets into the detail, and as well, the fantastic offers that you can get as a member. I mean, we got some great, you know, the seats that we had for Cub Wembley were absolutely fantastic, and we paid, you know, not very much for them. The deal we've got for the Magic Weekend is fantastic as well. We've not paid a huge amount for them as members, and that's the real benefit of being a member of Super League Raw. Friendships and meeting up with people, great offers, and all a fantastic community.
Yeah, I mean, we'll well, to put it into context, we'll be paying for the weekend what some people are paying for a day, and we're in Village Street. We're going to have better seats at Magic than we had at Challenge Cup because we're on halfway in a padded seat. So if you want more information on Super League Raw, get over to our website, superleagueraw.com, become a member, become a part of this community. We're getting members all the time. And of course, as well, if you are a woman and you want to have your say, we've got Super League Raw Ladies Tackle Talk. Become a member. Great community there. Nobody's doing that in the game, bringing women of Super League together to talk about the sport that they love, like everybody else in of course, around the game. So there you go. Right, let's get into Billy's side. Cheers for that, mate. There you go. Can Leeds keep marching on? That's the question. Can the Rhinos keep marching on? Coming up against Toulouse Olympic. Here's the tail of the tape between these two. And of course, as you would expect, there is a bit of a difference. Leeds having a phenomenal season, really playing some nice rugby league. Don't get me wrong, there's been patches where they've had to grind. It's not been perfect by any stretch of the imagination. We'd have to say that, but they're getting the job done. I thought the maturity, a lot of people, I mean, I have to disagree. I think it was on the Tackle Talk, and I don't think they mind me saying this. They were talking about Jake Connor and the fact that he could cost them games. Yes, Jake Connor was having a bit with Kyle Felt at the weekend, but he stayed on the right side of it. That wasn't grubby Jake Connor. That was Jake Connor, standing up for himself, but he kept his focus. And like I think I said on Weekly, for me, that's a part of Jake Connor we have not seen. That his ability to, by all means, give as good as you get, but stay on the right side of it. Keep your focus. And I thought that was a very mature performance from Jake Connor against Saints. It was a match-winning performance from Jake Connor against Saints. And I think the big reason for that is his relationship with his coach. I think that the relationship that he's got with Brett Arthur clearly is very, very good, and he doesn't want to let him down. So I just wanted to address that. But anyway, Billy, you can have your say on that and these stats. Like I say, everything here points to a Leeds Rhinos win when you look at the stats side by side.
It does, yeah. I think. I mean, I want to give a lot of credit to Toulouse, though. What's sort of been forgotten as the season have gone on, that Toulouse and York are working on half the central distribution of a lot of other sides. Yeah. So the effort that they've put in this season, Toulouse, needs to be commended. The last weekend, that was the best 80-minute performance they've put in since the grand final last year against York. A lot of the times we're seeing Toulouse not play for the first 20, 30 minutes, and it's costing them in games. They put in an 80-minute performance at the weekend, and that really needs to be commended. I like Toulouse. I like a lot of what they've done. Excuse my pronunciation, Jussom. I think he's having a fantastic season, and of course Ollie Ashelbot. What a season he is having! What a season he's having! He's been absolutely exceptional. I agree with you on the Jake Connor thing as well. I think he stayed on the right side of it, but also, you'll remember back in the early 2000s. That's when I started watching the game. There were those little rivalries, not just between clubs but between players as well. Yeah. There's not enough of that going on in the game anymore. And I loved it. I loved seeing them two getting under each other's skin, a little bit of biff, trying to wind each other up as the game went on. Players, you remember players like, Jimmy Lowes used to be very, very good at doing it. But, Robbie Paul was brilliant at doing it. Sean Long was great at doing it. And I just think it's something that we've been missing from this game. And I am all for it. Jake Connor's in the form of his life. He's been outstanding. To be honest, he won Man of Steel last season. I think he's actually probably had a better season this season all round. So far anyway. And I can't wait to see what he can do as the season grows.
Yeah, no, can't disagree with that either. Like I say, we'll put the graphic up for you to look at for tomorrow's game, but it's very much advantage to Leeds. But the bad news for Toulouse is that Ollie Ashelbot is missing. He's not playing on Friday. Massive bonus for Leeds. Huge bonus for Leeds. When you consider they've scored 40 tries this season and Ashelbot has scored 9 and made 5, that is massive. So Ollie Ashelbot is missing for this game. That's the big news. Other big news for Toulouse, John Toliafoa, he is maybe making his debut. 39 appearances in the New South Wales Cup for Newcastle. He's coming in, so he could potentially be in the front row for this game. But like I say, Ollie Ashelbot, that's the big news story. He is missing for this game. That must make you happy, Billy. Not happy because I know you want to see him on the field of play, but as a Leeds Rhinos fan, you'd rather face Toulouse without him than with him.
Oh, 100%, 100%. He's their strike. He's been arguably top 2 or 3 fullbacks in the league this season. For me, I'd be giving him the England number 1 if he carries on playing the way he has as well. I think he's been that good so far. Is he injured, Dave, or is he suspended?
My understanding is he's injured, so Ollie's missing. Yeah.
Well, that's a big loss, but hopefully that means that somebody else can come through and try and give a good account of themselves as well. Yeah, a bit good he's not playing really, but from as a rugby league fan, but as a Leeds fan, I'm absolutely delighted.
I don't blame you. So look, in order to try, but Leeds are in great shape. Their squad at the moment. Obviously, Lockie Miller's out, but young Fergus is doing really well at full back, and all credit must go to him. They're in great shape. They look very fit. They've got a really strong roster. So we've got to try and give a little bit of hope here for Toulouse Olympic. And we've no Ollie Ashall, but I want to just shine a light on these 3 players. These 3 players for me this season for Toulouse have had really good seasons. Jake Shorrocks, he's only played 6 times. Talk about going under the radar. In those 6 appearances, he's made 4 assists. He's kicked at 86% efficiency with 19 goals. 2 busts, 28 attacking kicks, 63 kicks in general play, 42 carries for 187 metres. Jake Shorrocks is playing really well at 7 for Toulouse. I saw him first hand at Leigh, thought he was superb. Brendan Hands as well. Brendan Hands at hooker is having a really solid season, played in every game, made 3 assists, 36 dummy runs from him, 7 busts, a 40-20 in there for good measure. He's a tackle machine, 556 with 95% efficiency, 54 carries for 384 metres. And then, of course, as you mentioned, Bill, Machuja Som, who, again, if he's only 27, 28, is mature. And I'm telling you, in his current form, there'll be teams in Super League looking at him going, hang on, this could be a poach, because at this moment in time, he is playing, been in a couple of our team of the weeks, he is playing really good high level of rugby league. 12 appearances, 8 tries, 2 assists, 45 busts, 10 breaks, 391 tackles, 91% efficiency, 130 carries for 877 metres. He has been sensational. So you've still got things to be concerned about, is what I'm trying to say. These 3, very good indeed.
Oh, this is not going to be a walkover. Toulouse are a decent side. And Leeds, as a rule, we generally don't travel to France very well. We've got quite a bad record against Catalan, and I believe the last time we played Toulouse in Toulouse, we lost as well. I think back in 2022,
and it was a 20 points to 6 loss.
Yeah, so we traditionally don't travel to France very well. So that this is not going to be a walk in the park. By any stretch of the imagination. Those tackle efficiencies are as good as what you'd see at Wigan, at OKR, at Saints, at Leeds, and any other clubs. That needs to be commended. And as a similar point to what we made before about Ollie Pratt, if those 2 lads are playing at Wigan or OKR, we're waxing lyrical about them. Those stats are phenomenal.
Couldn't agree with you more. And again, I want to get your view on this. As of course we've got Bill on, he's a Leeds fan. I've always been a fan of Cameron Smith, always have been. I think Cameron Smith is a great player. Got loads of flack when he was having to fill in your halves, when you had your halves problems a couple of years ago. Had a few injury problems as well. But in 2026, I think Cam's come back and he's showing how good he is. When you play him in his natural 13 role, he links up brilliantly well. Great on both sides of the ball. I'm really liking Cam Smith. And of course, he's off to Wakey next season. Another great acquisition for Wakefield Trinity. When you consider how many players you're losing, him being one next year, on his current form, are you disappointed to see the back of Cameron Smith?
I'm disappointed because a bit like you, I do like Cam Smith, and I think the best thing that happened to him was having the captaincy taken off him. I think it was probably a little bit too much pressure for him. So I am disappointed to see him go. What I will say, I'm not as disappointed as I am to see Oledsky go. I think Oledsky is going to be a much harder position to fill. Props of real quality aren't as they're not as around as much as you find loose as another back rowers. But no, Cameron Smith's been a great servant to Leeds. I do wish we could play, but we've got Presley Cassell as well, who's a very, very good young talent. And that's the advantage of I suppose a salary cap sport, in that if we want to keep some of these youngsters going, some of the older heads unfortunately have to move on, and that's only going to make the division more competitive, because that side Wakefield are going to have next season. Tell you something, I don't want to come up against them.
No, they are signing very well. They're building again. Wakey next year probably will be a better version than this year, and that's a thought for us all to consider, especially the old guard who are currently behind them as well in Super League. I tell you, there's shifting sands in Super League with these teams. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. And of course, Morgan Gannon could be coming back. You know, would you want to see more? I mean, it's already been announced he is coming back at the end of the season. Would you want him back at the Rhinos?
Delighted with that, absolutely delighted. I was gutted when he went. I would rather be seeing him with McDonnell, because I think the two of them could have, I suppose, maybe built a bit of a legacy as going down as the two unbelievable second rowers that they are, great players. I'm glad Morgan Gannon's back. There's obviously the slight concern with him over his head injuries. That is obviously concerning. As a fan, but also as a human being too. You don't want to see anybody get career be shortened, especially by something as awful as that. But yeah, I'm delighted with Morgan Gannon coming back, and I think we may end up seeing in a similar way to Lewis Dodd, although he's not had a great deal of game time in the first team. Some of the skills and some of the things that he's picked up in training and from his teammates, that's going to benefit the Rhinos.
Well, he was a class player before he went. He could have only made him better. And you talk about Aletsky and the likes of Newman. I still maintain, I don't think they'll be over there. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I apologise profusely to them. But I don't think Aletsky and the likes will be there for long either. They could be coming back. And would they come back to the Rhinos? We'll have to wait and see. But that said, we could be surprised. But that, again, as you said, we give our opinions. We're there to be shot down. I'm not sure, I'm really not. We've seen so many players go over to the NRL and not make it. Aletsky, because he's a middle unit, possibly has a better chance than Newman. Backs that we've seen go over have always struggled when they've gone over. But we'll wait and see on that. Right.
The advantage that they have as well, though, Dave, is I think going over the three of them together. So I think that maybe loneliness aspect that some players may experience won't be there. But also, as a brand new club, the pressure's kind of off them a little bit. They're not expected to go and hit the ground running like a Morley. They have got a couple of seasons.
That's true. We'll have to wait and see. Right, which way? Well, you're going Leeds, obviously. By how many?
I'm gonna go Leeds by 30. But yeah, but I think this is going to be one of them where there's maybe 6 points in it after an hour, and then just we pull away with it then. But yeah, that's my view.
I thought I was being bold at 22, but anyway, there you go. 30 is for Bill. Right, which brings us to our final game. What a great edition this has been of Captain's Run. Absolutely superb to have Bill with me today. It's been a great discussion. I hope you're enjoying it as well. Remember, 18th man on tour over the social media platforms is our Bill. And, of course, always great when he's on any of our shows. Right, tonight, only, we're less than half an hour to go. Coming up to half an hour. It's been a bit of a longer show, this one. But here we go. It is, of course, Warrington going to the Saints. And, of course, in the picture there, Arron Moore holding up a yellow card. Why? Because Warrington and St Helens have the worst disciplinary performance of the season. Warrington top the table with 7 yellows. Saints behind them with 6. I expect a card tonight, is what I would say on that one. No doubt about that whatsoever. Warrington going to this game, unprecedented for them. If they win, it will be their greatest winning streak against St Helens in Warrington's history. They've currently matched the earlier one, 8 going back, I think, to the 1920s, when they last had something like an 8 in a row. If they win this one, it will be the best winning streak that Warrington have ever had in their history against Saints. So that's interesting. Very interesting indeed. The tail of the tape, well, as you can see there, this might surprise some. Saints 4-9 favourites, Warrington 13-8. Despite Warrington being higher in the league table and coming into this 5 wins in a row, Saints having lost the last 2. So that's really interesting to see that from the bookies. Maybe going the way of home advantage. I don't know. But looking at the 2 stats, again, nothing in this for me. Again, the surprising thing is the dummy runs that, Warrington 100 to Saints 163. But look at the missed tackles. Saints 417 to 315 Warrington. And Warrington's discipline outside of the cards, errors, 899 to 142. You've got to take into account wanting to play 1 game less, but even so, they'd still have considerably less errors and also less penalties than Saints as well. What are you taking out of those stats, Bill?
What I'm taking out of it is I'm probably going to have to change my prediction for this game because I didn't believe Warrington was so far ahead in terms of stats. that's outstanding. The dummy runs is kind of the only thing going in Saints' favour. I think Danny Walker was out injured for a little bit, wasn't he?
Early doors, yeah.
Yeah. So that probably, that sort of takes that, and obviously playing a game less as well. There's not a huge amount in it really especially when you pro rata it, but that average meters is the one that's I'm looking at, up nearly 100 meters more per game from Warrington compared to St Helens.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. What we are going to see is a debut. Daniel Saluka Fafita, he will play for St Helens tonight. That's been well touted. Now, look, very few people have got any real knowledge of this player. I confess he's played predominantly in the second tier down under. He's been brought over. It's an interesting one. He has represented the Roosters, the Rabbitohs, and the Bulldogs. 26 is the right age, and when you look at the weight and the size, he is a specimen. There's no doubt about it. So we're going to be treated to that tonight, and we'll be be very interested to see how he hits the ground running. Will he be in the mould of a Fire Tilly and a Tom Amon and a Joe Offeringawi? If he is, then Saints will be absolutely delighted, I am sure. This is the interesting thing from Saints' perspective, Bill. Okay, again, we always get into a bit of detail, and I'll go through this for the purposes of the people listening. Things to work on at Saints. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable. So points conceded after 13 rounds. Last year, 2025, they conceded 184 points after 13 rounds. That's 274 this year. Unbelievable. Now, we know Paul likes an expansive game of rugby league. One of the things that Saints have always prided themselves on is defence. That's a big shift year on year. You look at missed tackles per game. Last year, they were averaging 30. This year, they're averaging 32. Again, something else defensively going in the wrong direction. Errors and penalties combined per game. Last year, they averaged 15. This year, it's 19. They had a calamity at Leeds last week. A calamity. I mean, Carl fell on his own. I had a night to forget. He had 4 unforced errors and 3 penalties in a game. I'd be amazed if he plays. Amazed if he plays. He probably will, but I'd be amazed if he plays tonight. And then the yellow card count. They're only 1 yellow card off their entire yellow cards for 2025. They got 7 last year, 6 this year. Like I say there, this is really, if you're a Saints fan, you're looking at that, you're going, we've got a bit of a job on, because those statistics, that is not a grand final winning. And they probably don't expect to win the grand final. But that's where they're big problems, aren't they?
That's massive. If I'm being honest, Dave, I didn't realise the gulf from last season to this. And we look back in a way that a certain contingent of the St Helens fans were treating Paul Wellens at that point was a disgrace. And his stats are considerably better than what Paul Rowley's putting out. So yeah, that is an area they definitely need to work on. The thing for St Helens for me, they don't know the best side. Now, I'm not saying you need to know exactly your best 13 week in, week out, because there's going to be changes for tactical reasons, but they don't know the best spine. Paul Rowley does not know his best spine. He's got a massive problem there, and as it's been documented plenty of times, he's got, Wellesby and Sailor, but he's also got Hastings, he's got Whitby, he's got Lomax. There's other players involved in there as well. He's not knowing his best spine. He's costing from a synergy perspective. These players are trying to play with each other week in, week out. They're trying, you get to know players' strengths and weaknesses, and they're not able to do that because of the constant chopping and changing of him not knowing his best side. And I think that could come back to bite him.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to highlight that on this week's captain's run. That's certainly something for them to think about, and of course they'll want to improve that going into tonight's game. Right, let's get into the squads, and of course the big miss going into this game. Lewis Murphy's out again, and we know that Paul's been fancying him, but no Harry Robertson tonight, so that's a big problem for St Helens. Of course, there you can see on in the picture for Fafita, who of course we know will be playing this evening. As for the Warrington Wolves, there are players that are coming back in the squad. Whether they all play or not, I don't know. Kai Taylor-Ray, I'd be very, very surprised if he did. They'll be delighted to see Josh Fewlis There's a lot of rumour that Josh Felix is going to be out for quite a few weeks. So will it be Lockie Webster? Are we looking at those first two players on the Warrington side that they're coming out straight away through injury? Will it be Lockie Webster at fullback? That'll be interesting to see. James Bentley and James Harrison returns. That's a big one for Warrington. James Harrison, no doubt about it. Adam Holroyd also back in, and Tommy Rhodes is included as well. I wouldn't expect Tommy to be a part of it. So like I say, Robertson out for Saints. Warrington 5 in a row going into this game. This is a real tough one again to call. Warrington going for their own little bit of history over the Red V. Having looked at those squads, who do you see the advantage going to?
On them squads, you probably have to give it to Saints. Really, I mean, the big miss there's Mark Sneed as well, isn't it? For Sneed's not in there, is he?
No, it's going to be Ewan Irwin and more like an Irwin Hayes. It looks to me as if Warrington are going to put a bit of faith behind that young halfback partnership. And in the same way that we said at Wembley, Jack Farmond, over to you. Ewan Irwin and Leon Hayes, over to you at Warrington. It looks like you're going to get your head yet again.
Yeah, great. I mean, it's brilliant that Sam Burgess is back in the youth as he is. I mean, I'm excited to see what those two can do. Is this the right game to do it? Only time will tell. But stranger things have happened. We've seen some great performances from youngsters this season, and many seasons gone by. Is this the right time to do it? Time will tell. But yeah, no, it's a big call. It's a big call from Sam Burgess.
It is. It's really interesting. Like I say, Mark Sneed at the moment would appear to be having to warm the bench. It's a bold decision. The one good bit of news for Warrington, and it is a good bit of news, is the man that is pictured there. And I'm not surprised that Warrington have pictured Matty Ashton for their team photo, because here comes some statistics for you where Matty's concerned, where Saints are concerned. He's played Saints 15 times and won 10 of them. He scored 9 tries in the last 7 appearances against the Saints. And this year, of course, he scored 7 in 9. Matty Ashton's record against St. Helens on the left edge, very, very impressive. One of his better strike rates against all opposition in Super League. Now, for me, let's not forget, Matty Ashton scored 7 in 9, but he's had a couple of games. I don't think Matty's back up to full speed yet. I really don't. All eyes point to, he likes playing Saints. I don't think they'll be very happy to see those stats, the Saints fans. But were you aware that he was that potent against the Saints?
I wasn't. No, I really wasn't. I mean, to be fair, as we know, last week's game was awful. The one time you actually looked incredibly dangerous and looked quite a decent side, but when you got it to Matty Ashton, why you weren't passing it to him throughout the game, I don't quite know. On his day, he is the best winger in Super League, in my opinion. I think he's an absolutely quality player. He could be the difference. Looking at those stats, it looks like he might be in for a couple of tries.
Well, yeah, be interested. And then for me, the last thing I want to talk about before we get your prediction and we bring this to a close, we're already encroaching into the Sky, but hopefully we've kept people on, and then they'll go to Sky once we're done in a few minutes' time. But this is the last one, and I think these two players, at the moment, have not quite sold themselves to their supporters this season. David Clemmer and Toff Sipley. These two players, for me, at some point have got to ignite. Is it going to be tonight? You look down there. I mean, fair play to Clemmer. He's played all 13 games. He's got himself a try. But when you look down the list, 19 tackle busts in 13 games, and you look at what the likes of Fiatelli can produce, what Alex Walmsley produces in his own shirt colours. Is that enough? I don't know. He likes an offload. Only gaining 6.9 metres a carry. I don't know. Toff Sipley, 8 appearances, of course, had an injury this season. He's got himself a try as well. Again, 14 tackle busts from such a big unit. Is that enough? I don't know. And what I've noticed is he's not getting much minutes, which, again, is interesting. I mentioned that, I think it was in Weekly, where he is having very short bursts and he doesn't look happy about that. So that'll be interesting to see as well tonight. So to see these two go toe-to-toe, I think both of these at some point need to ignite, because at the moment I think the fans can see players there, but they haven't quite delivered just yet.
Yeah, I think there's some truth in that. I mean, I'll be honest. Toff Sipley, I've hardly noticed him, and I know he's played, but I've not noticed much that he's done. In all fairness, so that maybe says a bit about him. Clemmer, I've noticed, It was Clemmer who got sin-binned last week, wasn't it, for dissent? Correct. Yeah, so he's got that in his game as well. I mean, his tackling's quite a good start. That's not to be sniffed at. They've probably not hit the heights, but I've seen a bit from Clement. I think he's also played at 13 a couple of times as well, so that could affect his stats a little bit too. I think Clement's probably had the better season of the two so far, but I think there's probably still a fair bit to come, and we see it plenty of times with players who come from abroad that it takes them a while to settle in, and that could just be the case here.
I think as you, I think Clemmer is a player. I just think for me, when players come over from the NRL, from Australia, and especially with Ofra Hingawa, Fartilla, Amon, they have set now a standard where front rowers are concerned that come over from the NRL and from the Queensland Cup and New South Wales Cup. And these two are not at that level yet. And I think that's what I'm getting at. I think when you compare and contrast, even Clemmer, who I agree, he's been steady away, he's not at that level. And I think, on a night like tonight, these are the games where you can start to make a name for yourself. If you step up and you're really clinical, you can make a name for yourself. Right, Bill, which way are you going?
So I'm going to be honest, Dave. Before we came on air, I was going Saints by 8. Having seen the stats that you've put out, I've changed that. I'm going to go Wire by 8.
I've gone Wire by 10. Wire by 10 is what I've gone. Do you know what, Bill? I've really enjoyed your company. I hope people have enjoyed listening to you as well. Great to have your input. It's been a really good chat. I'm sure you'll come back and do a captain's run again in the future. But it's now time to depart. It's now time to stop the talking, let the action and the players do all the talking for us. We'll have, of course, shows throughout the weekend. Some new things are on the way as well from Super League Raw in the coming weeks as well. So keep your eye out for that as well. But for myself and from Bill, go and enjoy St Helens and Warrington as they raise the curtain on round 14 of the Betfred Super League. Bye for now.